Hi, this is Tracy Swedlow, Editor-in-Chief of Interactive TV Today and the co-producer of the TV of Tomorrow show conferences. One is coming up in New York City on December 7th, so we hope you can make it. I am very happy to have today Ryan Reed, who is the lead of at Lotame on their TV products. And they are a company that really focuses on data, delivering a data management platform. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Hello, nice to talk to you, Tracy.
As I was saying before the call, you've been in this industry a long time, and so you're a veteran. And you know, I love people to talk about a little bit about their background. If they were part of the early years, it's been a long slog through all the ups and downs. So you were at Comcast?
Yeah, I was at Comcast with a division called TV Works. So TV Works was Meta TV. They basically built the interactive platform for set-top boxes. So we were working on interactive TV, addressable TV through companies like Visible World when they were trying to do addressable TV through the set-top box to the old set-top boxes. So we worked through addressable and interactive, and then Comcast formed Canoe Ventures, which is what moved me out to New York.
Right, and Arthur Arduino was heading that up at the time, and of course he's sort of still involved in the industry. So everybody, it's like they get back involved in the TV business no matter what they do in their careers. It's great. I'm glad you're doing this too. So Lotame is a data platform, a company that provides data products, data services, and it seems to have a long history of doing so. And so now you are the lead behind bringing aiTV. Isn't that what the name of the platform is called?
Yeah,
aiTV?
That's the name of the division. Yes.
Can you actually tell me a little bit what Lotame does overall, or tell the listeners, because I know what it does, but overall, and then how aiTV plays an important role or a part in the company's.
Yeah, so Lotame started in 2006 as what was planned to be a data management platform, the idea being with digital advertising, all of these web publishers have all this data about what people are reading and what they're consuming and their habits. None of that data was being used to target advertising. So our founder, Andy Modfried, he had this idea too early, it turns out, that if you could take all this data and you could use it to target advertising and be very valuable. The term DMP didn't even exist in 2006 when the company was founded. So Lotame was an ad network up until 2011. And then in 2011, the original vision was able to come into play, and the marketplace was ready for a company that just focused on the data, did not run media, was not involved in the buy side or the sell side, didn't favor either side, just was strictly about audience data and collecting audience data and segmenting it for it to be used by any other parties. So Lotame has been around a long time, and that in digital time, it's a really long time, but also built the world's largest data exchange, where a lot of data providers send their data in, and we segment that data and put it out into the marketplace where it can be purchased on any other platform. And what that has done is given us this very broad network where we touch, this is a crazy number, but 3 billion devices worldwide. So we say in digital, it's called uniques, so cookies, mobile devices, so on. So this data network is out there making data for sale, and then what the DMP is for clients who actually want to do the segmentation on their own, have a way to create audience targeting.
I know you guys are working with, for the aiTV platform, smart TVs. That's specifically where you're collecting a lot of data from. Well, maybe many devices, but smart TVs are very important. Do they give their data to the data exchange, or do you have specific relationships with them?
No, it's specific relationships. And so the kind of pivot here, it's funny you mentioned how people end up back in the industry. So I thought going to, ad tech digital would get me out of television for a while, but it's sucked back in with all these networks creating audience platforms. So what we're doing is having a specific relationship with smart TVs so that we can take all the audience data that Lotame has access to. So we're integrated with all the major data providers. I think it's 40 plus data providers who sync with us, sync their data, and obviously we have all the pipes to get data in and out of places. But using the reach of smart TV data to create what I call a dynamic panel. So instead of a static panel where it's the same users, we have this panel of smart TVs that is in the millions, and we can overlay all of the data that's being collected on all these devices to those households, and that allows us to create better insights and be able to measure television viewing in a new way.
I think that your website said 10 million viewers or uniques for smart TV data.
Yeah, it fluctuates. So it's in that range. It's in the high millions to going close to 10 million. But the big thing that we've been able to do is match that population into our data set that we have. So in the digital world, people are leaving their footprint all over the place with what they do online, and that gives us that reach that I was talking about. And we have 100 million uniques, again, profiles matched to those TVs, because this number might surprise some people, but each TV household has 12 to 13 other devices that are IP connected and can be matched to the household.
Yes, it's your digital silhouette, I think is another term that's been used. And before I go more into the smart TV issue, you mentioned you're working with 40 other data providers. Can you name a few of those? I mean, who do you mean by that? Do you mean Experian and companies like that, or?
Yeah, Experian, all the major players, even companies we compete with like Blue Kai. So when you think about data itself is like a product on a shelf, and a DMP is like a retail store where you buy the products off the shelf. So we have a DMP business where we have a storefront. So someone becomes a client of the DMP, they have access. The main thing a DMP does is your first party data, give you access to your first party data so you can analyze it, segment it, use it for targeted advertising. But obviously third party data is a big business. So we want everyone who's selling third party data to be on our shelves, so to speak. So our data is on other people's shelves, other people's data is on our shelves. So anyone who sells targeted data, we want to have part of the platform.
Will blockchain revolutionize that sort of shelving system?
Might change how it's monetized. I don't know a ton about blockchain. I've only heard about it in the currency, like the actual currency context. But that's something I have to read up more on to understand. I'm not sure anyone fully understands blockchain at this point. Maybe like 2 or 3 people. I've read long articles and listened to podcasts on it, and I'm still a little confused.
We had a session on it at our last show in June at TVT, and I believe from what is it makes all this data available anonymously, but people can sort of tap into it, can sort of go and grab it. But I don't know. I'm not the expert. Let's go back to this topic. So you're able to sort of tap into the data that's made available. But are the smart TV companies, are they providing that data to you specifically, privately? Or maybe you already answered that question, or are they putting it into that data exchange?
So both. It's all based on privately what deals you want to make, how they want to monetize. Everything's very, very specific. Each use case is very specific. So they can create segmentation. So if you want to create a segment of type of TV viewer and you want to make that targetable, that's something that can be done. Several companies have been doing that for a while, putting segments of TV viewership available for sale. So that is a use case that can be supported, and we do support. The thing that might be more interesting to the TVOT audience is using the cross-section of all of that behavioral data and using the SmartTV data as the viewership source to create analytics off of. So if you want to know, you have a digital target of people who book a lot of online travel, and you might want to know what type of TV programming is most relevant to people who are booking. Let me see where we are now. Let's say they're booking their holiday vacations now. And there's data providers out there who are selling all this retargeting data on people who book holiday travel right now. You're saying, oh, what are those people watching on TV? If I wanted to advertise to them on TV, where would be the best place? So the cross-section of those two things, real-time data on what people are doing online and real-time data on what they're watching on television to create more sophisticated marketing plans for advertisers, or if you're a network, creating better audience packages that you can sell cross-platform, across digital and linear, and be able to show how that overlaps.
And do you know if they're collecting their data through ACR? Listening in through. Is that what they're? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's ACR data. So yeah, it is data that's collected from the screen, and from there you can differentiate between live, time shifted, on demand, just by knowing when the programs air and being able to discern live from non-live. So yeah, it is ACR. It is detected directly from what's shown on the screen.
So I know that Lotame is targeting agencies, marketers, and publishers. How does the platform change in any way, aiTV, when it is sold to any of these segments, or how are you targeting them? What are you doing to help them specifically? I mean, that's a large question.
Yeah, I can break it down just in the basic buckets. So for the network groups or the station groups, so we've worked with Pearl TV Consortium and those station groups and worked on local broadcast as well as national and syndication. So what we're doing there is we're taking the segments that are most relevant to that sales group. A lot of automotive, as you might have guessed, but other segmentation about buyer behavior and, for example, people who recently moved. That's big for telecommunications companies that are trying to get people to sign up for their services. So they take our core strength is creating audience segments. So we take those audience segments and then give a platform for them to score that audience segment against all of the available programming that they have. So they can go to an advertiser and say, you are interested in reaching this type of consumer. Here is an independent data source that shows they overwhelmingly watch my news programming or any of the programs that I have on my rotation, and then I can put together a package that is more attractive to the advertiser. That's the very basic thing. That's what all the audience targeting platforms out there are trying to do. We're just trying to make it easier and more robust with more data.
So the ATSC 3.0 revolution is really going to be great. It's going to open up a market even wider, right, for the local broadcasters. Yeah,
I mean, the big thing it's doing is putting the stations in control of their own data. So it's a weird thing for people in digital to understand or to wrap their head around at first, because as a digital publisher, you have complete control over what tags are on your site, who's collecting data. It's gotten kind of out of control with programmatic. But at the very least, they know, they have the information on who's been on their site, what they've clicked on, what they've done. So the idea that as a TV broadcaster or a network, you are putting content out there, and then you're leaving all of the data, all of the measurement, and all of the data of who's watching it over to someone else is kind of a strange concept. So this would be a big step in letting them have control of their own data, collecting it themselves, and being able to use that for their clients.
Can you mention any other TV clients, customers that are using the platform?
I really should have talked to marketing and legal before this, but I can tell you we publicly said we work with the Pearl Consortium, and we have some press releases going out. I'm not sure if they've hit the market yet. That mention a couple of our other clients.
I'm sure we'll be able to mention it at TVOT, so we'll be
yeah.
in December.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, let me. How would can you take us through the process of how you collect the data, but then how does someone use the platform so that they can analyze data coming in from multiple devices, perhaps see how other campaigns worked, but then use that intelligence to plan their next campaign or to tell their customers, because of the like the television stations, how would they collect that data on your platform and then deliver that to the people who would decide whether or not to buy those campaigns on a network?
Yeah, so the big piece is already done in the sense that the data already exists. So the data platform has, as I mentioned, all those different data providers. And by the way, I just got an IM. So we are Hearst and NBCU are two clients that are in press releases now that have been working with us.
Mm-hmm. Great.
So the thing with Hearst TV, what's great about them is they've been a DMP client of Lotame's for years. So they have all this robust first-party data about all of the people who read their magazines, and they've done this segmentation already. And what we've done is we've connected all that data segmentation into mapped it onto the TV viewership. So that part's already done. And depending on the data strategy of whoever the client is, they have to, we'll work with them on what their data strategy is and how to improve it. But they have to decide how they want to use either first-party data, or do they have trusted third-party data providers that they want to use for targeting that they think are going to resonate with the clients. The other thing that can be done is the actual advertiser can onboard data and make their targeting data available so that it can be mapped onto the TV viewership to show that the programming is a good fit for who they're trying to target. So for the most part, the data is already there for whatever you want to sell. And then, so for a seller, I have all the segments that I think are valuable that I put on my list. And then you simply, for a seller, this is a software platform where you go in and you see across all the programming and all the day parts how how the different audiences score against it, how they index against it in terms of reach and index. And then you comb through that, and then you put together a draft of, it's not quite a media plan at that point, but it's essentially a plan that you're going to present to an advertiser to show them that you're going to reach more efficiently the audience that they care about.
Can you talk about any examples of plans that were put together that using the Lotame platform that then delivered a fantastic new ROI, or they were very happy with the
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
in local, I can tell you this is surprise no one, but car dealerships are huge. So we actually went a level deeper on one campaign where the car dealership said, "Can you narrow this down to zip codes in a 10-mile radius?" And it's not something out of the box, but I'm like, "Yeah, we have all the information to do that. Let's try it." And we'll run, these auto segments, people in market for a new car, people in market for a pickup, an SUV, and we will run these segments and we will narrow it down and we will just look at these zip codes that are within a certain radius and score your station and all your competing stations against it. And that went over. It helped that the numbers were good. They were the numbers were actually very strong, but it basically was able to sway. How much of my share of my budget do I put into, if it's a broadcast client? How much of my budget do I put into broadcast, and how do I decide if I'm going to do local cable or addressable or something like that? It's hard to compete when you can do it. Other people can do addressable, but if you have data that shows no, the audience you want to reach is very strong in local broadcast, then it helps paint that picture. So I know it upped the buy for that client and got them talked them off a different path.
Do you get to see, how these campaigns are doing? Do you get to tap into that and to see whether or not people then make the purchases? Because I don't think they make the purchase from your platform. They take this as intelligence, propose it, and then the customer goes elsewhere to make that programmatic buy, perhaps, or buy is directly from the publisher, correct?
Yeah, so in the example I gave, that was the station was the client. So they presented that to the car dealer, and that helped them, make an informed decision about where to spend their money. But also after the campaign runs, we get the data back on which TV saw the campaign and how on target that campaign was. So we can actually say, all right, you were trying to reach these new car intenders, and at the end of the campaign, here's how well you actually achieve that. So that's the kind of closed loop reporting on the targeting. But when it comes to attribution, we actually are doing attribution campaigns with e-commerce is a low-hanging fruit. So we have worked with some e-commerce, because if you run TV campaigns and then you have the data on who actually purchased, so we can run attribution reporting for that. We also work with partners on location data. So when it comes to the car dealership or a retail location, there are data providers out there who use the GPS data from mobile phones to track physical location. Did someone actually go to the store or go to the car dealer?
Right.
So we work on that in the to attribute those, and also there are companies out there who have purchase data that we can use for in-store purchase attribution. So be able to weight, did the exposed audience purchase, was the exposed audience more likely to purchase than the unexposed audience to your TV campaign? And within your exposed audience to your TV campaign, which networks, which day parts, which ones actually were more likely to influence a buy?
Having that kind of information is it's almost like a snapshot into the whole digital, marketing business and how it relates to content. It's like seeing, a moment in time about how all this stuff is working. You guys are getting to see this. It's sort of the secret, like the secret world behind those two things. Sorry, I'm not articulating it well, but would you say that you're seeing more success? You're seeing it as a slow climb, perhaps, towards when people have this amount of data that they are seeing, more success with their campaigns? Is it, or are you seeing sharp like a very successful project, and then something not working very well, and then something, I mean, what's it looking like out there? Do you understand the question?
Yeah, the truth is everyone's still trying to figure it out. So every company that's out there, whether they're big or small, this is a case of worlds colliding, where you have the traditional TV buyers and sellers. The world was very simple to them, and then this very complex digital world is coming in with the shift in viewing behavior and just all this data that's out there in the world. And now it's becoming something of an arms race, is who can actually get their hands around enough data and actually, do something with it, and then chase off this or get ahead of this shift in consumer behavior where, with cord cutting and just multiple devices, how do I, as a marketer, make sense of a campaign when I have to deal with this consumer behavior? And as a programmer, how do I make sure I keep my business running when I have to now be on all these different screens, and then my clients are getting more sophisticated about what type of measurement and what type of data and targeting they expect out of the people they buy from.
That's completely well said. I mean, it's so complex. Just even trying to get an understanding of what it is that you guys are trying to provide to people, and simplifying that process has got to be a major task. You mentioned before about e-commerce. Are you seeing any specific? Can you mention any specific projects additionally where you're tracking that people are actually purchasing something?
Not this time. We actually have the data, but it's I can't disclose names or anything. But it is interesting. I mean, what we've also done is just looked at, for specific clients who work in television or advertise on television. We can look at it and just say, do we think this is something that can work for them? And everyone gets interested in saying, yeah, I do want to know how my TV campaign is resonating. But overall in the e-commerce, the thing that's, if you're advertising on television and your purchase point is an e-commerce purchase point, well, you can pretty much go end to end at that point. That's the lowest hanging fruit. In-store stuff and location stuff is a bit more complex, but if someone bought something. So if you can draw the line between, if you have enough sample size of people watching television, and you can say, of those that saw the ad on TV, how does that correlate to actual purchases? That is something you can show very distinctly.
And what about T-commerce? You didn't mention that. Where people actually purchase something while they're watching the show. I mean, that's a technology, as you well know, as a veteran in the industry, has been, had its ups and downs.
That was like a year of my life, was working on probably what was the most successful e-commerce project to date. Is the shopping with a remote app on, for
Replay TV
through the cable box. Yeah, for that was at TV Works. We worked on that. So yeah, so I think the game changer because I've lived through interactive TV from the last 10 plus years, the game changer are these mobile phones that everyone has in their hand while they watch TV.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be more of, how do you make it easy and how do you measure that influence? Because it can very well be that you can see something on TV and literally buy it the second that it comes on. Now, if you do that of your own volition, it's hard to tie those two pieces together. I know something that was worked on. I worked on this, and I know some other companies have done some work on there. But it's really going to be because your credit card data, and just the ease of use is right there in your hand of the mobile phone. So I think anything that's T-commerce is probably going to be a connection between those two. is going to be, you can buy this now, and then having the tool in your hand where you don't have to pick up well, you are picking up a phone. You don't have to dial or talk to anybody. You don't have to enter a credit card information. Everything is, all the payment information, everything you need to buy the thing is right in your hand. So I see it going in that direction.
And what is coming up for the platform in the future? What are the improvements you can make? Where are the opportunities for growth and improvement on the platform?
Well, the biggest thing is connecting to all the other advances that are happening. So with programmatic TV, especially, I think it's been a long slog. You're talking about being in this the advanced TV space for so long. But we really, really do seem to be at that tipping point where the money's been spent. There are enough people doing enough interesting things here where the programmatic TV platforms and all the audience targeting platforms that the network groups are building, we kind of are at this point. So we are, I say it's just the facts. The data company, we're neutral in that regard. So connecting to these programmatic TV platforms is the nearest term big improvement, I would say, in terms of extending it out. Our overall goal is to make any audience data that is available usable on especially linear TV, because it's already, you can already use it in digital. But for any audience targeting you want to use to be able to just plug that into something that buys linear TV, I think we kind of, all the pieces are there. We just got to put them together as an industry.
Is this, this is pretty much a platform that's available to enterprise, customers, right? People with deep pockets. But what about some of these smaller independent publishers who are using programmatic, perhaps, that are, sending out videos on Facebook and YouTube and, building a network, a digital only network? What about companies like that who may not have millions of dollars to spend, but are still maybe even becoming profitable through programmatic means?
Yeah, so the enterprise stuff is mainly aimed at those that are already entrenched in the linear TV space. They have a thriving business by selling 30-second spots. What's going on in what you're talking about, and I think you see things like Newsy, you see these kind of homegrown networks that start off as these small digital platforms, and then they grow an audience, and then they move up. I think the big thing that's going to happen there, we already have the touch points, the integrations with the video DSPs and SSPs out there in the marketplace, so that this DMP service can be used in that regard. So that's an area where we already are. But I really think when something starts to take off, I think you see Newsy's actually building a network, a TV network, and they're going to do a traditional one. But these OTT channels and these OTT apps are really, it's going to become a marketplace of kind of like you see with mobile apps, with Android and Apple apps. Anyone can get on there, and then it's just a matter of how do you grow your audience and get on there. And once you do that, the thing about OTT for publishers, the great thing is you control your own data. You're not relying on another measurement source.
Right. These people don't necessarily have the deep pockets. I'm just wondering if there's a ramp up, like some kind of starter version of aiTV for companies who are, getting there, who may, but aren't like the Pearl network or something like that, who have deeper pockets.
Yeah, I would say for someone who's building a digital footprint, I think actual things that you can do in that space. We're connected to all the DSPs and SSPs where you can sell your inventory programmatically. So the couple different things we do there is we have those, as you mentioned, we talked about earlier, the data segments. So if you wanted to create data segments that were based off of types of TV viewers, that's something that's just on a usage basis. And then just our core product, our DMP, where people can segment their data and sell it programmatically is something that we've been working on for years. So it might not fit into the standard what we put out as part of the aiTV team, because it's something that's reaching out to the kind of cross-channel marketplace, linear and digital. But it's something we've been working with companies like that for a long time.
Well, I'm often speaking to people like this offline, and I hear, recently people are saying I am, profitable through programmatic advertising, but they don't necessarily have a huge a data platform like this that they're tapping into, and I'm curious, how they're doing that when they don't necessarily have access to this huge wealth of information that you guys can provide and intelligence. And I'm just, it would be great to have those kinds of companies who do read our publication and go to our events as well, give them some way to grow, to scale what they're doing as well. But I was just making that, I guess, just kind of curious if that was something that you guys did. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I can see there's definitely a way to be profitable with programmatic. So you're basically leaving all of that information. You're putting out a price, or hopefully they're putting out some sort of floor on what people are able to buy their inventory for, and they don't have a direct relationship with the end advertiser. So they don't know what targeting criteria necessarily went into the decision, depending on who their programmatic partner is. Some can be more transparent than others. So I think there's probably a tipping point in growth where publishers need to be in control of their data strategy and who's buying from them. They might want to start selling more, premium sponsorships and whatnot. And that's when, they have to be more in control and actually, look to build more of what you might think of as a more traditional sales organization and have more control over that relationship of the advertising that's on their content. So I think it's probably part of a growth stage. So I can definitely see how publishers can be profitable that way, but I think it hits a point where you have to, if you want to continue growing, you have to have a data strategy in place. Yeah, bite the bullet, hire a salesperson, or just say I'm gonna sell off of data that I control rather than just letting all of that margin go to some ad tech company. I say that as an ad tech company.
Well, hopefully that people will understand the sort of wealth of the kinds of services that are part of the aiTV platform, so that they can talk with you about their needs. Maybe they'll help you, improve your platform as well. All right, sounds good. I'm not sure there is anything that we've missed. I think we've covered everything. Is there anything else that you want to mention that? Brian?
Just kind of an overall thesis is, I said it before, but no matter how polished people may sound, no one's really figured all of this out yet. So just keep a watchful eye and know that this is a very dynamic and fast-changing environment right now that we're in, this time that we're at in what we call advanced TV. So it seemed like a slog for the last 10 years, and I think it's kind of hit this tipping point.
I know from interviewing John Penny, who's an EVP at Fox last week, that his main goal is to find opportunities where he can collect data, right? That is the goal, right? And distribute their content. But the goal they're looking for are opportunities where they can have as many touch points as possible and as much data. So, you're that currency in between. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
You're
mean,
that.
have control of your own data, and then your own first party data is the most value is something that's most valuable because it shows what's unique about your audience. So instead of just leaving that to someone else to measure, once you collect your own data and have all this information about your own consumer as a media company in that case, that gives you much more leverage on how you monetize that.
One thing I forgot to ask, which is, and you don't have to name the names, obviously, if you can't, but are any of the publishers or the broadcasters using this to improve or change their content specifically, rather than for marketing purposes only, for advertising campaigns? I mean, that's is that something that's happening?
That's always part of the conversation. And obviously, you make your money through ad sales. So that always trumps it in terms of, actual activity that happens. That's always something that's mentioned. But I think that can be a very strong indicator of saying, all right, what type of consumer is interested in this, and have that influence where you go with content. I can say the one aspect of the aiTV platform people are using for that purpose is pretty straightforward. Is marketing tune-in campaigns. So if you have a new show coming out, it makes sense to create a audience target and based off of similar shows, or even the same show the previous season, and this would be for digital marketing, mostly on digital video, and create targetable sets of people who watch certain types of TV shows for your tune-in campaign.
Okay, well, there's no end to what you can do to try to figure out all your strategies here. I think that's it for now for me, and thank you so much for telling us a little bit about the platform.
All right, thank you, and I look forward to the show in New York in a couple of months.
We've got a great lineup, so I can't wait to have you guys all there. I mean, data and AI, well, and those kinds of topics are going to be very important. Do you guys use AI? What would you say that's part of what you do? I keep coming up with new questions.
Well, I know we call the aiTV, and the
Oh yeah,
acronym is
AI.
for
I mean, yeah.
audience intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
But the future, you asked about the platform. I gave you the integrations with programmatic. That's the part that I think is like most instrumental in the near term. Long term, with a massive amount of data science and AI around that data is actually going to play a huge part in it, because there are just too many factors for like one human with a software package to understand this stuff. If you actually want to get into, let's just say it's for pure marketing, if you actually want to gather real insights, you're going to be combining thousands of touch points on millions of devices against hours of programming. It's just not something a human can handle. So being able to crunch all that into machine learning is really where things will eventually end up going. So that's kind of, I see that just overall, we're going to reach the point where there's so much data that there's no software interface in the world that's going to be able to let humans understand how much that you're using your data to its fullest potential. It's going to take some AI to actually make that work.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your being here.
All right. Thank you very much.
That is Ryan Reed, who's the head of their aiTV platform at Lotame, which is LOTAME.com. Thank you. LOTAME.com. And this is Tracy Swedlow from Radio ITVT. Thanks for listening.
Hey, I'm coming over, we won't have to talk. Let all the bright lights come out of the box. Ooh. Watching television, watching television.